100%, I would say this has been worth every penny, and that I couldn't think of a better way to spend a day with my kids during the summer in preparation for this coming year. And I'm really looking forward to what's going to be happening and going on with the kids from this point on for the rest of the season, and what they're going to be able to transfer on to their peers. A lot of band directors, know the things that you were taught in college and how to do a band and to work through rehearsals and how to play the instruments, how to teach the instruments and everything. Oftentimes what's skipped over or not even gone over is how to deal with people and all the dynamics that go on with a group of students, not only a group of students, but parents and your administration and all those other things that happen in the band world. And so today, one of the things that I really saw coming alive in the kids' minds was how they could work together, not only better with themselves, but also with the school community that we have here. I think the students really enjoyed the exploration of the different personality traits that were presented, and how those personality traits work with each other or don't work with each other, and how that's going to transfer to them taking leadership into their own experiences in the band and assessing a student's personality and what's going on in the situation, and then being able to make an informed decision on how to handle it better.
I'm Thomas Galvez, band director at Medina Valley High School in Castroville, Texas. Today we brought in Duane Huff to do a student leadership seminar, and I'm very, very impressed with the way the students reacted and the information they got out of his leadership seminar. We have seen Dr. Tim, we have had Scott Lang out, both great guys, but the difference between what we experienced with those two and Duane is that we had a lot of interaction with the students. They had some activities they did in small groups and some small group activities that became large group activities without them knowing, and it really started opening the doors of communication for the kids, and they realized that communication is one of the most basic fundamentals we need to make our group survive. As an educator, the value that was brought to our program today was one of connecting with each other as a band, because we are a team that has to work together for many of the same goals. It brought open communication, actual communicating by speaking to one another, as opposed to the text or the instant messengers that we live in today. So the kids actually experienced a new form of communication and a new style of communication than they're used to having on a daily basis. So communicating is something that we all need to work on. And this communication skill that was brought forth to our students today is going to pay off in many dividends throughout this season. Enjoyed, I think, the most learning about each other. Some of them have been in band together since 6th grade, and they're seniors now, juniors now, sophomores. And they found out things about each other that they haven't found out or known about each other in 6, 7 years. And all it took was one activity that Duane did with the kids, and it opened up so many doors for them to value each other as a person more than a flute player or that trumpet player. And I really believe this is going to help us to become one unit throughout this season. This is day 2 of our band camp. I'm looking forward to see what happens the rest of this week and on through the summer band rehearsals and on through the season this year. I would also recommend Duane to my best friends that are band directors and any band director in any situation, because what he's brought to our room today is something that we haven't experienced, which is the oneness of communication that communication can bring. I know that there are many fabulous programs out there, but I would bet that having Duane in their room with them would make them an even more unified group of kids and push their level way beyond where they are right now. So I look forward to talking to my friends about Duane.
One of the things that I liked about what Duane did is that he reached the kids at their level. He spoke to them at a level that they could understand, and he found their need. He managed to isolate where it was that they were, and in spite of it being a larger group of kids, I felt that the kids were able to be touched individually. The comments I was getting back during the course of the day were just amazing. The kids were amazed at what they learned about themselves, but amazed at what they could do for other people. I think that Duane has this knack for speaking right at the kids. They laughed, they were serious, they were motivated. The material that he covered is something that is not only applicable in band, but is applicable in life. It's something that they can take a hold of and they can use in many different ways. But I believe that there's a very powerful intrinsic value in what he did to the band program itself. Those new kids coming in every year, you know what? They're going to have somebody that's going to be able to reach out to them, draw them in, and retain them in the program, and then pass that information on to them. So I think that's very, very key.
So as a band director, having Duane come in to speak to my student leaders really gave the band council, as we call it, the band council, the opportunity to learn from somebody else leadership skills, strategies that they can use when they address their sections. There's only so much that I could do, and sometimes when they hear these things from a professional, an outside source, it really drives the point home. And it's great for me to see them develop as student leaders as well, because that raises my expectations of them, but also allows me to have more strategies to guide them as they're leading my program. As band directors, we always strive to have the best musical performance, the best field performance, and we bring in clinicians to come work with them, or work with our kids, whether it's a guest field visual judge, or maybe it's a jazz clinician to work with the jazz band. Why not invest in your student leaders? And this is a great way to do that. To have someone come in to work with your clinicians, to work with your student leaders, and that's just going to spread throughout your entire band. And if I could recommend Duane Huff, I would recommend him 100%. As I observed my students today during the program, I noticed things clicking in their minds, things that either they have been brought up in their past that now they're starting to understand, or they're thinking of someone in their sections now that they know how to approach. The questions they were asking, the comments they were making, the suggestions were all great today, and I saw a tremendous amount of growth, especially in some students who I wasn't expecting that from. Duane had such a way with them that brought out the best in all of them. Watching my students today, I saw the growth that they've made over the past few years. I've attempted to teach them leadership, through the rehearsals, through the lessons, but to see them really hone in on this particular skill today, I got to see how mature they've become, how insightful they've become, and how inquisitive they've become, and the barriers that they broke just today to be able to reach that point where they're asking those questions, where they're becoming leaders, and they're learning how to be better leaders so that the sections that they're attempting to lead will have a better time following, but also they're able to reach those students that might have a hard time following them. So with my band council, we meet once a week to discuss topics, issues, the good things, the bad things in our program. And based on this session that we had with Duane, I'm able to go back and use this resource in a way to guide my students throughout the year. And in fact, I learned a lot myself that I can use with my student leaders and the general population of my band that will help guide us throughout the entire program.
The greatest value I saw in the seminar today was that students began to see themselves as leaders, and they got the tools that they needed to work to live that out, to work in the band as leaders. The other value I saw in it is it got them thinking in an open-ended fashion and not just question and answer regurgitation, but it got them to think outside the box and really start to use their creativity and their intellect. I think they really enjoyed the information, especially the information about the personality styles. They discovered a lot about themselves. But what they enjoyed the most was getting to apply some of these skills and some of these things that were discussed in a small group setting, even with kids that they didn't even know. This is the second year that we've had Duane's materials. the first year was on the online course, and the kids enjoyed that and they got a lot out of it. But the comments that I got from the students that participated in both was that they much more preferred having Duane in person than on the video. Just his ability to relate to the kids and to form that relationship was very powerful.
The live seminar is great because it helps kids to navigate this whole idea of communicating with one another in an effective fashion. You know, I mean, it's unfair what we ask students to do, and that we're asking them to lead each other and to help work with them and get something done. And the tools and the understanding about personality types and understanding about leadership techniques helps them to do a better job of really accurately defining what the problem is and how we can work through and communicate with our fellow students. The best part about it is going to be the ongoing conversations that are going to come from it as we continue to digest all of this information. You know, in this digital age where it's, you know, so much tech and we don't get enough of the face-to-face, person-to-person, there's just something really real and raw about having flesh and blood up in front and interacting with the students. And I felt like that was the most beneficial part. As the day wore on, they got more comfortable with Duane and they were able to just get a lot more out of it than had they just been sitting and getting. And so I think it was really important for them just to see the real person and have that interaction, which is what we all are really built for.
I really feel like the students were able to walk away with a set of tools, like a toolbox of here's how we should handle situations appropriately with student conflicts within the band, or a problem, or how to even respond positively to others when praise should be given, and how we can do those things. Oftentimes we see students with leadership traits and they just need some encouragement and knowing how to fine-tune those elements. They need to know how to use those tools that they already possess, and so I really felt like they gained some introspect on how to be a leader. I really feel like the kids enjoyed learning about their personalities and the personality traits of their peers. Being able to work with one another within the small groups was definitely a plus. There's something about collaborating, getting everybody's ideas out there, interacting face to face, which really kids don't get a lot of today with the technology as mentioned prior, but yes, it definitely helps when they are working with one another. And the personality traits was even my favorite, knowing more about who we are and how we can communicate with others, our students, and students amongst each other. I really feel that this whole workshop is done very professionally. It's done with the goal of student interest in mind. These kids are going to walk away with so many more ideas than what I could have given them from a YouTube video or a post online or a handout in class during band camp. This is raw hard work. This is how you're going to deal with this situation, and here are the tools that you need to conquer it. And so I much rather have a face-to-face conversation with somebody than have a computer that I'm talking to with no response back.
As the host, I really saw kids starting to understand how they can lead within their groups, understanding what their personality is like, how do I interact with other people, and what makes me effective within my program. I think that's really the main thing I saw. They enjoyed anything where they were up and working with other students, especially as they got more and more comfortable with working with kids they'd never seen, and so it really put what they were learning into action immediately, because they had to take from the content and just use it and run with it. This makes it real. It's one thing to talk about it, to watch the online stuff, to go through a workbook, whatever it is, but when you have it in front of you and it's engaging, it just makes it real, and that's what kids want. They want to know that what they're being a part of is real and it's effective and it's going to make a difference in in their bands.
I brought Duane in to work with my students because I felt like the unique experience of an outside leadership specialist being with my students alone in our band room working towards our team goals was going to be the best outcome for our students, and it absolutely was the right decision. Our students had an interactive environment for the course of an entire day and learned more about each other while learning leadership characteristic traits and learning how to interact with leaders, but they did it within the environment of their own team. We've taken trips and gone to camps, and when we go to those camps, we have great information. The students walk away with great knowledge and experience, but they don't do it in the context of their own student leadership team, and that's why I brought him in to work with our students. So you've watched some online videos and you've wondered, do I pull the trigger and bring Duane in to work with my students here on site at my school? It's absolutely worth it. The personal interaction that takes place within that environment with the students one-on-one against each other while Duane is overseeing that is the unique aspect of it, because students have questions. They want to work with each other, but they need that guidance. They need someone that has such command over the information like Duane does, that while they're asking questions and while they're going through activities and learning information, they're being guided through that with someone that can be, and one of the things Duane does a great job with, if he sees where the kids are leading it, and then he takes where they've gone, and then he teaches them within that moment, as opposed to just feeding a lecture and having them do with that information what they please. He really kind of lets them lead and steer, and then takes them where they've left it, and does a great job with that. Over the course of the session with Duane, we did several different activities and games, and the students in that time learned a lot about each other. They learned a lot about the leadership characteristics and traits that were discussed, but that interaction with them one-on-one and as a group was what was most powerful, because as these students go through the course of the season, they're going to have to learn how to work with each other. And they're not in the same cliques. There's maybe 15, 20, 30 kids in your leadership team, but because they're working together, they're learning more about each other, and that was the most powerful thing. That I have a 10th grade leader that learned about a senior leader that they never really would have spent time together talking, but these interactive activities got them to learn more about each other. It's going to strengthen our leadership team and ultimately our band through that activity.
I felt he brought a unique perspective that was outside of music education. A lot of the folks we've worked with in the past who've, the students have worked with have all come from being a music teacher. And Duane kind of comes from a different approach where he's approaching it from the outside world, so to speak. And he's connecting with the kids outside of the classroom.
So what happened is that I didn't let that deter me. And here's why I tell you this, because sometimes when we're in band, or sometimes whenever we're stretching out to do something different, there's going to be ridicule. There's going to be people who say, you might not want to get involved in that. You might not want to do that. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to say, no. I'm going to take my own path. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And I know there's some people in here today that came to this event, leadership and team building, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I'm not a student leader. Well, why do I need to be here? Or I don't plan on being a student leader. What does this mean to me? And so I just want to invite you, based on what I experienced in the saxophone, and with the saxophone is, you might not have wanted to be here because you thought you were going to be a leader, but take this in, because this can be an exceptional experience. And sometimes the things that lead us in are the things that we need to pay attention to. And what drove me to do that was that the way I walked out of that presentation feeling, I wanted to share that experience with other people and come back and do this in the world that I love so much, the band world. Here's why I share this story with you. Because we're going along in this band experience, doing the team building things, building relationship, bonding, leading other people, and being that influence. You never know where it's going to take you. It took me to passion for what I do. And for the last 4.5 years, I've been able to go across the country and doing this. I don't know what it's going to turn into for you, but please stay. Because when you have that vision, as we said so many times before, it compels you to move on.
And I think that's a great way to approach it, because, while we want our kids to grow and continue to play music, when they get out, most of them are going to play a CD or they're going to play an MP3 player, and their, music's going to be a love that they have. And he brings an approach that allows them to, take what they learned in music and take it into their lives.
I had some raw talent, but the two girls next to me just whooped my They whooped me pretty bad. Let's just keep it that, right? And I remember there was Tony. I knew Tony since I was in kindergarten. She was my girlfriend at one point, not anymore at this point, right? And then there was Nikki. She would never be my girlfriend. She was just way above my league. And then there was Jerry. No, I didn't want to date Jerry. I'm just saying, but there was Jerry, and they were all talented. They were all very talented, and so they challenged me to keep growing. And I think I challenged one time, and I probably had moved up to third chair, right? And I'm not, yeah, right? Yay, big deal. But I'm here to say that it wasn't about the competition. It was about the music. And for you, I don't know what it is, but it's something that keeps you here. And I'm here to encourage you today. Keep going. You know, I'm not naive enough to think that everybody in here is like, woohoo, band. Yeah, so stand up and give me a woohoo band.
Woohoo band.
No, stand up, stand up.
Woohoo band.
All right, everybody stand up and say, woo band.
It's what we get from the process of being in band, and how that can carry across into the outside the music world. When Duane brings up the being a drum major and being in DCI and all those, that grabs the kids.
Our first trip we were making out of Hammond, Louisiana, we get about a half an hour up the road and the bus breaks down. Not looking good, right? So they put us up in this gym, and if you know anything about drum and bugle corps, that's the standard: gyms, cold showers, peanut butter, all that kind of good stuff, right? Is it still that way? Yes. Okay, good. So I'd feel slighted if it wasn't. So we ended up sleeping on this gym floor, hot summer, July, just nasty. It was the second tour. And so we go to sleep that night, everybody's worn out. We wake up the next morning, I kid you not, I'm laying on my side right here. I look up and I can count at least 25 big cockroaches on the floor with us. And I jumped up and screamed like a girl, man. Ah! And ran to it was bad. Expressions, Drum and Bugle Corps, Hammond, Louisiana. I bet y'all thought I'd lost it. Squirrel. Yeah, Expressions, Drum and Bugle Corps. I wish it was Phantom Regiment though, but it wasn't.
And then to approach it from, I had a lofty goal, and I didn't quite go for my goal.
But I have one regret that I can't go back and undo. And if I've got my slides right, this is that regret. About the time it was time to go and audition, I was 20 years old. This was like one of the last choices that I had to make. And so some of my friends were going up to march because they'd been in the band. Matter of fact, one of my good friends now, who's a band director in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Catholic High School, his name's Duane LeBlanc. And Duane and I go way back. We were in All-State Jazz Band and Honor Band together. And he went on through, when I was with Expressions Drum and Bugle Corps, guess who he was marching with? Phantom. Yeah, he was marching with Phantom. And then we'd see him out on the road. I was so jealous. And I talked to him one day. He said, no, man. He says, look. He said, come give it a try, man. What do you have to lose? And I said, I know, man, but I'm thinking, have you seen those Phantom Regiment drum majors? They're all tall. I mean, they're at least this tall, right? And I'm like, there's no way. He goes, dude, come on, seriously? I ended up missing that opportunity. I'll never know what that feels like. So when I tell you that I had some good experiences as a drum major, I made some bad decisions as a drum major. Don't ever let an opportunity that's going to benefit you, that's going to serve you, or that's going to make you better, don't ever let an opportunity go by you because you're scared.
I thought for the kids that was a real eye-opener, because there's a lot of kids who have a lot of I want, and then to say, but did I follow through? Did I really go for it, or did I just kind of settle back and just take what I could get? And I think going through that story of I wasn't for lack of a better term, I wasn't successful at everything. Because a lot of the folks that you kids hear from, in these kind of clinics, well, this is what I did, I've done this, I was successful with this, and and Duane was like, hey, I had some moments where I wasn't successful. This is what I learned from, falling down, and this is how I got back up so I could move forward and really improve and move on from there. When Duane's entering the saxophone into the equation with the students, firsthand he engages them, because he's one of them. He's playing, they play. He uses it as a tool to push examples across.
Whenever you picked up your horn, whether that's trumpet, clarinet, whatever your instrument is, you picked it up, and we all pretty much sounded the same way when we first started, right? Right? Some of you are like, no, I was good. All right? But we all sounded that way to some extent. And me, I don't know about you guys, especially, where are my saxophone players? All right, good. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you do this on clarinet, it would look as cool. But it wasn't really about playing the saxophone well for me at first. It was about looking good, right? So I'd stand in front of the mirror. I'd be like, with that note, I'd be like. Right? I just sit there making these funny faces, And I was a little skinny guy, right? I was a little skinny guy, and so one time I was doing that, and I just got tired of it because I'm ADHD. I'm a squirrel, And it just, I do that, and so one time I put my saxophone down, and I'm all skinny and like a string bean. I mean, I'm just a little bitty guy, and I'm standing in the mirror. I was probably late junior high, and I'm standing there in the mirror, and I'm because I've been working out a little bit, right?
Oh yeah.
So I've been working out a little bit, right? And so I sat there, and I was in the mirror, and I was like. And about this time I went, oh. And I look over and it's my mom. And she says, dude, you need to stop that. You look like a coat hanger. And remember, as leaders, if you aspire to leadership, or if you are leadership, you owe it to the people around you to set the example. I said earlier that leadership is about vision, and it is. It is about vision. And part of that vision is being able to see things that the people around you can't. They don't know why they should practice. They don't know what good's going to come from it. These freshmen coming into band may have never seen what the fruit of a marching band show is. You owe it to them to be able to show them and to give them that courage, that enthusiasm.
Not only do you need to practice, but this is why you would practice. It's a great lesson to learn. We practice for a reason. How do you apply it? Well, this is how you apply it, and the saxophone becomes a very outstanding teaching tool.
But we have a vision. We're excited. Vision's easy to get. Everybody pretty much comes to the table with a vision. They wanted to start. They wanted to play. They wanted to be a part of it. But when it starts to get hard, they take their eye off the vision. Here's the secret, y'all. If you have that vision, nurture it. Stay around people like this. Get involved. And what happens is that vision stays strong. And so when people pick on you or things get tough, they say, no, you're not quitting. You're not giving up. You're coming with us. And here's what happens. You stay around long enough, and I don't practice these things all the time because I want to be pure. If I mess up, and you can laugh at me, and it's fine. All right? But here's what happens. We learn how to play one scale. And we're all excited. And we go to our band director and we say, man, check this out. Watch this. I'm cool. He says, that's really good. Now you got 12 more to learn. You're like, oh, dude, it took me 3 weeks to learn that. And you're like, okay, well, I'll go back to the drawing board. But you went back to the drawing board to learn. But some people did what? They quit. They gave up. But not you. You go on. And so... Do I do that to impress you? Yes. Yes, give me a hand. Give me a hand. Now, I don't do that to impress you. I do that to impress upon you that practice time is never a waste of time. Because what you practice and what you invest time in and what you spend time doing stays with you. I don't sit here and practice my scales every single day. I don't even do it before I come up and do a performance because I put that time in. So I want to encourage you. If you will simply put the time in, you will see the results and they will not leave you. I'm going to prove that a little bit more here in just a second. But invest that time. It will not leave you. But here's the important part. Whether you're a student leader by title in here yet or not, you owe it to every person sitting around you to be the best musician that you can, especially if you're going to be or are a student leader.